then what was the unusual thing about this experience was at 8.5 years old, there's not much of a life to look back on. So there's no review of your life and how you affected others and what you're doing right or wrong. So what I started seeing was this like clouds and like a movie unfolding. And I could tell in the movie that I knew wasn't like labeled, this is Reverend Bill. It was like I could see myself at different ages and events happening. I saw me meeting my wife, knowing that's who I was going to marry. I saw my children, saw the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and reported that when I was in high school a couple weeks before he got shot, which spooked people out. Because I said, no, I've seen this already. This is what happens in Texas. And then I saw myself in Vietnam behind a machine gun, M60 machine gun, didn't know it was a machine gun, didn't know it was a Huey helicopter. But, at 8.5, I'd never seen anything looking like that. It looked like a big tadpole with a rotor blade on it. And, I don't think they were even invented back in the early 50s. So that's before they were even invented. So I saw that, and I saw things happening. And then I realized as I'm looking forward,
Broaderlands Podcast. The opinions expressed on Broaderlands Podcast are those of the guest speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or Broaderlands Podcast. Bill, welcome to Broaderlands Podcast. What an honor to have you on.
Well, you catch me just as I'm getting off the airplane about 36 hours ago or something. I just come back from United Kingdom where I did retreats and workshops, and then I was in Vienna, Austria, and then I was in Prague, the Czech Republic, and I was in Edinburgh, Scotland, and Brighton Beach in southern England. And so I'm just returning home after a month's journey. So if I fall asleep, kick me. Good jet lag.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I love listening to you. I've listened to a lot of videos of you because there's so much things I learn from you. There's always something new that you're teaching or discussing. So I really appreciate it. I would love for you to talk about, and I don't even know what to use, your experiences. I know you had 3 near-death experiences. I would love for you to share your journey with your experiences because some people haven't heard you, and I think you have a powerful message.
Well, I think the most powerful message I found as I go around the world, I'll just relate to what happened here recently. I was in Prague, and I'm part of a live stage show, unusual. It had this famous actress. She's like the #1 actress in the Czech Republic. And she interviewed me on her podcast last year, and she goes, I want you to come. I'm going to do this show. So the first part of the show was about an hour where they was talking about mystics, Czech Republic mystics and people that were repressed and tortured by the communists during the time that before the communists gave up Czech Republic. And they did this whole spiritual play. And then afterwards, I was brought on stage. It was an hour and a half. And they told me before I went on there, says, the Czech Republic has the most atheists in the world. 80% of the people declare themselves to be atheists. And the rest of the people either spiritual, non-denominational, or they're not sure if there's God. So it's like there's only a small group of people believe in the existence of God there. So this is in your venue. Don't do it. And I said, no, come on. So I get on stage and I got an interpreter and asked for a show of hands, how many people are atheists or don't believe in God? And it was like silence in the audience. There's I go, holy cow, the whole audience doesn't believe in God. So the next thing I said, how many believe in love? Show your hands. Everybody believed in love. And I said, great. We're on the same page. We believe in the same thing. If you believe in love, you believe in God, give it any name you want. So that's kind of what my journey's been this last month in Europe. And I'm doing workshops all over the countries, and from Vienna to uh, Edinburgh. So it was quite a quite an energy thing I just gave, and I've just been getting some feedback, and I feel good when you come home and you're tired, you worked, and then you get all these messages from people like, thank you, you inspired me, you changed me, I'm feeling well, I'm feeling healthy. So that's kind of what happened. But my real story, as you were alluding to here earlier, starts in my youth. As a child, and we were talking earlier because I was looking at your copy of Autobiography of a Yogi up on your shelf behind you. Um, I read that when I was, well, when I say I read that at 8 years old, well, that's a push. A lot of the words I didn't know was basically read to me. And so when I was hospitalized at 8.5 years old, I kind of took that with me, that contents of that book with me. That was kind of like my one thing that I had going for myself, because I was put in a hospital, basically a county hospital. So I was kind of like the control of me was taken over by the county. They thought I was going to die, and my parents left me there. And my first night there, I had a near-death experience, which gets to where your topic wanted to go. But if you can imagine, at 8.5 years old, you're left alone by yourself in a hospital. Nobody else in the rooms, isolated. No television, no radio, no record players, no phones to call anybody, no toys, no conversations, just dumped in a room. And I was there for a year, 1 year of my life, total bed rest, couldn't do nothing. So that first night, I was given some treatments, and they injected some things in my back, and left alone in bed. And then I found myself dying, and all alone in the darkness. No calls out. There's nobody there to reach out and hold my hand. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, boom! I'm like smoke. There's no weight, just lifting up from what was the body, and I'm aware the body's below me. When somebody has near-death experience, they don't see things with their eyes. They don't hear things. You're not. You're like a rainbow. You're like smoke. You're a consciousness. I was conscious of the fact that my old body was laying on the bed, broken, not working, dead, not breathing. And I found myself in a room or space. I kept getting lighter and lighter and lighter. In fact, got very bright. Should have been blinding me if I had eyes. And then I felt this embrace, this warm embrace of love, which you always hear from anybody tells you about near-death experience. What they always say, love, more than you can ever to explain. It's like a hug from your grandmother, from Italian grandmother or a Mexican grandmother, one of those kind of grandmas that just like to, pinch your cheeks, and hug you. So it's like a million of those, right? So then what was the unusual thing about this experience was at 8.5 years old, there's not much of a life to look back on. So there's no review of your life and how you affected others and what you're doing right or wrong. So what I started seeing was this like clouds and like a movie unfolding. And I could tell in the movie that I knew wasn't like labeled, this is Reverend Bill. It was like I could see myself at different ages and events happening. I saw me meeting my wife, knowing that's who I was going to marry. I saw my children, saw the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and reported that when I was in high school a couple weeks before he got shot, which spooked people out. Because I said, no, I've seen this already. This is what happens in Texas. And then I saw myself in Vietnam behind a machine gun, M60 machine gun. Didn't know it was a machine gun. Didn't know it was a Huey helicopter. But, at 8.5, I never seen anything looking like that. It looked like a big tadpole with a rotor blade on it. And, I don't think they were even invented back in the early 50s. So That's before they were even invented. So I saw that, and I saw things happening. And then I realized as I'm looking forward to the last thing I see, and remember we talked about the autobiography, and there's a reason. In that book, there's a chapter called Babaji's Cave, which is about this great avatar that comes back to the world, appears to this great yogi, Larry Masha, and reintroduces this Kriya Yoga, which is a technique of meditation, which helps you burn your karma. But it got lost. It was so restricted on who could learn it and do it that only a few yogis were doing it, and it was getting less and less in the world. So it was reintroduced in that cave. And I remember the cave, I'm going, someday I'm going to go to that cave. So it's interesting in this life review, that's the last thing I see. I see an older me with white beard, and at 58 and a half, I didn't know that was the age, but that's what it turned out to be. I saw myself in this cave, and that's where the story ended. That's where the visions end. So I'm kind of going, well, is that the end? Is that where I die? And so 50 years later, to the very day of that near-death experience, I'm in that cave. I'm in India in 2004. I'm 58 and a half, and my heart is hurting. I come out of the cave, and I'm feeling weak. I feel dizzy. I'm having a major heart attack. And I'm staggering along this trail. I'm lost up in the Himalayan mountains, and next thing you know, I'm standing on a 30-foot cliff, have a heart attack, fall 30 feet down, land on a big boulder on my back, and I'm gone. There's no more pain. The body's kind of twisted laying down there. And I find myself exactly 50 years later having the same kind of experience, leaving the butt, looking down and aware, oh, that's my body. I've been here before. And now maybe this is the end, right? Maybe that's why I saw this thing only went 50 years forward. That must be the end, right? So I'm floating up there and I'm looking down, and then pretty soon this very large cobra, and I say that because if a cobra ever crawls across your feet, your thighs, your calf, no matter what size it actually is, in your memory, it's always going to be a huge cobra. It's just, there's no size. When it's on your body, it's huge, right? Regardless of what it meant, I have no clue. It might only have been 7 feet, it could have been 8. It could have been 12. I don't know. So I see this cobra, and instead of being afraid, I'm actually one of these rare people, I think, in the world that actually love snakes. It was like, wow, I love that snake, and I wanted to touch it. I wanted to grab this snake. It was drawing me back. That snake was pulling me back. And it was like, when the fire department comes out and they get the paddles out, cleared. It was like jump-started my heart. And I jump up, and this cobra, big, huge mouth. This cobra's laying on my feet now, and I'm trying to grab it, and I'm reaching around like this, meaning my fingers aren't touching because there's cobra in between there. As far as I get my hands around this cobra, the part of the body I grabbed, I don't know if that was, what part of the body it was, but when something's that big around, that's a big, big fat snake, right? So I'm grabbing at it and everything else, and long story short, I didn't die. I came back. I chased it. I didn't get bit. But I didn't understand all that. And I continued my journey in India. And what happened was I end up, a guy, you can appreciate this, especially being a Raiders fan. None of us, we never have any sense. You have a heart attack. What do you do, guys? Well, it's not hurting me anymore. You just go about and do something else, right? A woman would go, oh, I had a heart attack. I should go get checked. Guys, I'm okay now, right? So I didn't go to a doctor. I spent a few more months bumming around India, and I'm in the desert, Rajasthan, out in the desert, and there's this woman out there. She's got a big basket of cobras, and there's like 5, 6, 7 of them. I don't know. They're just sticking their heads up, and she's got a little piece of bamboo stick, and she's hitting the basket, making these snakes angry. So she's trying to get tourists to come over, right? And they all got their teeth. They're not defanged. She might have been taking the venom out of them, I don't know. But they had their teeth. And so I run over there because I'm mad at her for, because I like snakes. And I'm yelling at her, moving my hands around, making a lot of movements. And I'm standing right directly over the basket. My feet are on either side of this basket. And coming up between my crotch are 5 or 6 of these snakes. One grabs onto my thigh, crawls up, gets under my shirt, wraps around my stomach. The other one comes up and wraps around my neck. So I got 2 snakes wrapped around me, which is unusual, right? I mean, they came out in it. And this one is wrapped around 3 times, big body. And it's off to the side. I look around, I turn around, and there's these fangs hanging there, about an inch away. I could feel my eyelash go from the tongue of the snake. That's close.
Wow.
That's close, right? But I wasn't afraid. The mouth was open. I just kept staring at this dark tunnel inside this snake. It was like mesmerizing. It was like going into this dark, comfortable womb. And it was like 5 minutes of just me staring at this snake and the snake and just becoming one with the snake. Anyway, that's weird in itself. And then when I went back to India, let's see, 2009, I think I went back. That was 2004. So 5 years later. And I was invited to stay at this ashram by this guru. And I go in there and he says, I got just a room for you in his ashram. All the rooms, there's nothing on the walls. No pictures, no drawings, no nothing. Takes me in one room, there's one picture on the wall. Lord Shiva with a snake around his neck, like this, with the fangs like that. He says, I think you might enjoy this. And I go, oh. And then he explained to me that the significance of the cobra when it relates to Lord Shiva or the Buddha or whatever, that's a symbol of the Kundalini energy in the spinal cord. So if you're doing Kriya Yoga meditations, you're calling up this energy of the Kundalini. And it's all symbolic of this cobra. So the whole thing with the cobra is not about a cobra. It's really about the energy in the spine. So I didn't know. And so that kind of put 2 and 2 together. I go, oh, so that experience was all about the Kundalini energy. I thought it was about, it's foolish me. I thought it was about cobras. I go, oh, okay. I thought it was about a real snake. No, real snake, but it's about energy. So that was that experience. But the strange thing is about that experience, the first near-death experience was while I was having this vision, there kept being 2 numbers tumbling around on the screen. It was 29, and then the 2 would flip, so it looked like 59, 29, 59, 29, 59. And I'm going, so at the time I thought, maybe I'm going to die at 29. Maybe I'm going to die at 59. And here I am now, a few months away from 59. I'm kind of, maybe, it's getting close. And at 29, I had a supernatural experience where it was kind of a death experience, but it wasn't a near death. It was more out-of-body experience, where a rainbow body experience, totally crazy. It was out there. But it changed my life. So it was like at 29, something happened. It was like a spiritual death, rebirth. And then I'm getting close to 59. It looks like I'm having a real death. And so I finally get back to America. And of course, it's 2 or 3 months after the heart attack, of course. And I'm having another heart attacks, collapsed several times. Thinking, well, I collapsed 6 times in my house. Maybe I should drive myself to the ER. I tell my wife, I'm going to be gone a while. I'm going to go checked out. So I drive to ER, and anyway, I end up in a hospital and having 8 stents put in. Wow. And but I'm asking the doctor, I go, what kind of deal is this? I said, because when I had that near-death experience, I realized in my mind that sickness is a possibility. If I didn't take care of myself, I wasn't going to make it to long in the future. So I became a vegetarian. I didn't drink coffee. I didn't drink booze. I didn't drink wine, liquor, didn't smoke cigarettes. I didn't do drugs, or as my kid would say, yeah, you were boring, Dad. Anyway, so I didn't do any of that stuff. I took care of myself. And in spite of that, I'm complaining to my doctor. I said, look, I'm into yoga. I'm into meditation. I eat right. I don't do salt. I don't do sugar. And yet here I am, getting ready to die. And my 59th birthday is like in 2 weeks or something, right? And the doctor looks at me, he has my chart, and he says, well, frankly, Mr. McDonald, I'm looking at your medical chart and your numbers and stuff. He says, I would have thought with the way all the stuff reads out that you probably should have been dead at 29 instead of 59 coming up. So 29, 59. So having changed my diet, changed that obviously. And so that was the first near-death experience. And then subsequently, the second one was at the cave where I fell off. So, and number 3 was just really out there. I don't know if we have time to even go. That was just totally, totally bizarre. And that was not like you're leaving your body like astral travel, or it was like I was in another solid body and I was back in India and my other body's on the operating table having quadruple open heart surgery while I'm wandering around India at a temple. That's another whole story. I don't know if you want to go down that road, but that was kind of the beginnings. But what it did for me was it taught me a lot about self-healing, because I wasn't supposed to get out of the hospital. It was like, when you hear the doctor say something like, oh, it's too late, leave him here. He's probably going to be dead in a few days. Right? You hear that as a kid laying in a stretcher strapped in, you go, shit, they're leaving me alone. Everybody's expecting me to die. I ain't doing that. I'm sorry. I'm going to hang around. I got things I got to do. So, but while I was laying in bed, I took things that I learned from Self-Realization Fellowship, which is Paramahansa Yogananda's organization. He wrote these lessons. When you join the organization, these weekly lessons come out, teach you how to meditate, how to live. But the first 7 lessons were kind of general, but when you got to the 7th lesson, it was about how to recharge your body with energy to make you ready to meditate. And I remember that at 8.5, I'm going, what? I remembered how to do those, but I'm in bed. I can't do them in bed, so I can just lay and tense my body and visualize and all that. But I'm thinking, well, if this is good enough to prepare your body for meditating, seems to me that there should be some healing energy to that. If I'm bringing this healing energy into me, that I can use that to heal myself. And I did. I practiced this method that I developed, and I got better and better and better at it. Now I'm doing hands-on for other people around the world. And so I found myself walking out of there a year later, when I should have been leaving it all. And I got home a couple weeks after I'm home, 2 or 3 weeks after I'm home. My dog, it was a miniature poodle, ran out in the street, got run over, splat, 40-mile-an-hour car hits it. It's flat. I mean, the body's flat. His tongue is hanging out. It's bleeding the mouth, the nose, the eyes, the ears. It's just, it's ready to die, basically. But I picked it up and I took it in the house, and I remembered, well, I healed me, through using this tension. So I had the idea of using tension, visualizing this energy coming down and ending up in my hands and giving this jump start to this dog, right? I should be able to give this dog some energy. And then there was this focus of love. I mean, who doesn't love your dog, right? And you love the dog. So I put the dog in my lap and I just focused on the energy, and it was like sparks of static electricity coming out my fingertips, just like, and the dog jumps up and runs around. Never took it to a vet.
Wow.
It's good for years. And I realized that with the power of love infused with the power of dynamic tension that Yogananda taught, where you tension up, you're holding the energy and you're not spending the energy out there, through his exercises, that the exercises became more than just an exercise. I developed and changed them and worked with it. So the exercises became part of a healing process, which I use now, along with what I learned in Hawaii when I lived in Hawaii, what I learned from a kahuna. And between the Hawaiian technique and what I learned from yoga and from what I learned going to India a whole bunch of times, staying 3-4 months at a time, I put together this healing method, which I've gone around the world giving away free. I give lectures, I give workshops, I give retreats. I charge nobody nothing. Sometimes an organization that is sponsoring me, it'll be a fun, like this last month, it was a fundraiser for the Harry Edwards Foundation. It's a healing organization. They don't charge anybody, but they had people pay because they were raising money to stay, in business. And so I donated my flight there, all my expenses, charged them nothing. So I did the same thing in Prague. I did the same thing in Vienna. I did the same thing wherever I went. Last year, I was in Germany and Switzerland and other places. So I go around the world, charge nobody anything. I give it away free. And it's getting more powerful every year. And I'm finding that at every event that I give, there's always some miracle reported later or at the time. People cured of stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
Blindness, guys going blind. That was in Virginia Beach. Guy was going blind. Boom. Vision's restored. People come in with a cane, and their hips bad and they're taking pain meds. They stopped the pain meds. They stopped using the cane. I had a lady in Hawaii that was in a car accident 10 years before. She couldn't move her hand past a couple inches from her waist. She couldn't lift it. 10 years crippled. And the next morning she saw me and she was waving her hand around to the group, and it was totally restored as it was before the accident. People coming out of comas, people with strokes recovering, people with cancer of the spine, the bones. So I'm not teaching, this is not faith healing. You got to believe. No, this is not that. And it's not me doing anything. I am a catalyst. I'm a pipe. The water's flowing through me. The energy's, it's always the source. So when you hear people say, I am a healer, quote unquote, no one's a healer but the self, the higher self. We're all tapping into the one consciousness. We're tapping into the oneness. We're all getting it from the same place. So all I do is hands-on to recharge the energy within people because their vibration level and their frequency is low because of their life, holding grudges, holding hate, pain of life, all these things, regrets, shame. Your energy goes down and you're not able to heal yourself. So I teach people the Hawaiian way of self-love, self-forgiveness, and gratitude. And I add that to this whole recharge of energy, and it works. You make yourself sick. You think yourself sick. Whatever you consume and do, you're the control of that. You've manifested it. And by the same token, if you manifested it, you can manifest your health just the same way. And that's what I'm teaching people. I call it self-healing workshops, not Reverend Bill's healing workshop. It's all self-healing. I put it back on the people. And if you're attuned to what I'm doing and you follow my instructions and you use your frequency and vibration correctly, you're looking at your own healer when you look in the mirror. You're looking for a guru, look in the mirror. You're looking for a teacher, look in the mirror. Looking for a savior, look in the mirror. Everybody wants to go outside of themselves to find another source. When everything you need, there's nothing outside of you that you don't already have. The kingdom of God is within. The whole cosmos there, because it's just one. It's one God, one consciousness. So in California, I don't know about Arizona, in California, it's like, what's your preferred pronoun, which just drives me friggin' crazy. And I go, us. What do you mean us? No, us. There's only us. There's not you and me, he and she and all the rest. There's just one. It's us. So you want to get healthy and stay healthy, stop separating yourself from the source. When you start praying to God, meaning God ain't here, God is out there someplace, right? You're separate. But when you realize that when you love yourself, you're really loving God. There's no difference. It's one. So when you love you, you love God. When you love God, you love you. And then if you're loving you and you're loving God, you realize, well, the scriptures say you got to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, I'm loving myself. Well, then I got to love my neighbor. And that, whoa, you're not through. Then you got to love your enemy. Whoa, what a concept. Well, you don't, nowhere in the Bible or anywhere does it say you have to like your enemy, but you got to love them, but you don't have to like them. Two different things. So once you realize that everyone is connected, step one. Step two, you realize not only everyone is connected, meaning humans, everything is connected. Show me not where God is, right? Everything is the one. It's all out of this one consciousness, meaning the mountain, the rocks, your dog, the cat, the sky, it's all one. There's nothing else. This is just a dream. You can't tell it to people when they're in this dream and they're believing it and they're in pain and they just lost somebody they love and, and they got cancer. So if you identify yourself with this ego, this drop from the ocean that you think is a drop from the ocean, you're a drop. If you identify as a drop instead of the entire ocean, then you're going to have to believe in the ego, and that means you believe in your personal history and your story. It means you believe in birth, you believe in life, you believe in pain, suffering, joy, bliss, all that stuff. And then you got to believe in death, and then you got to believe in heaven, hell, whatever you want to believe in, and then you believe in reincarnation. None of it's real. When you wake up, and I mean really wake up, there's just one dreamer. The source, God, love. To me, people talk about what's God. They got this image of this old guy with the beard and, this. God is love. Who knows what shape, form. But I look at everything that was created in the universe. They talk about the Big Bang. I call it the big love. Everything was embraced by love and into space. But space is an illusion. It's all within you. It's all conscious stuff. Oh no, the cosmos are expanding and light years at a speed of light years, right? They're just moving farther and farther away. No, it's all within you. And all you got to do is go within. So there was always that question. There's nothing. Oh, what's faster than the speed of light? Oh, nothing's what they tell you. No. Thought, consciousness is faster. Think yourself anywhere in the cosmos you want to be, right? Because it's all within. So thought is the fastest thing. It's faster than light. And it's just a matter of attunement. So all these experiences kind of led to where I'm at now, going around the world. And I'll be going off to Japan and Australia and Singapore this next year, back to Hawaii, of course, and Arizona. I'm thinking about Tucson and Phoenix again. So we'll have to get together there. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I got probably 4,000 or 5,000 spiritual, unique stories to tell you. And I always go on these interviews, and they always want to hear that your death experience. And you can tell by now I'm going, okay, let me give you what you need, and then let's move past that. Yeah. But it's like telling somebody about a near-death experience expands their belief that we don't die. So that's the good thing. Think, oh, there's no death, and there isn't any death. So that's the best thing about that. But how does somebody learn something from that without them wanting to? I've heard people, I want to have near-death. No, you don't want to have a near-death experience. That means you're dying. You don't want to do that, right? But if I'm talking about this other stuff, the spiritual philosophy of love, self-forgiveness, and gratitude, people can learn to change their own frequency, change their own vibration, change who they are and what they believe. And especially in today's age, because I tell people, because people come in, they've been watching the news, God knows. You watch the news long enough and you go crazy. And here's the deal. You would think from watching cable news that we're living in the most dangerous times ever. that this is the worst times in history, and it's horrible out there. But the truth of the matter is, because instantaneous news happens worldwide and we get it all, boom, right away. Number one, the human being was never designed to receive that much negative feed of things happening, somebody getting killed in Afghanistan's news, right? Wherever it's at, you get it all. Our nervous system was never designed to handle that much stuff. It's an overload. So you can't go down that road. Second off, it's not as bad as you think it is. It's the fear-mongering by politicians and churches and national leaders and the news and the media that feeds this fear. Truth. The United Nations released these numbers. I didn't believe them. I had to go on and double check it, but you can go on internet, go check anywhere you want. But in all of our recorded history, meaning we don't know only so far back, but in our recorded history, this is the least amount of people starving to death in the world, lowest number ever. Okay. The least amount of human beings being killed daily in war ever in our history, ever. And you go, oh, Ukraine, Gaza. Well, you know what? Take a look at World War II. There was over 100 to 250,000 people a day, every day, for the whole length of the war, getting killed every day. Hundreds of million, a couple 100 million people die. And same thing in World War I. Times are getting better. This is the least amount of death from battle, from wars. The least in history. Least amount of people committing suicides worldwide. Who knew that? There's only one place in the world where that number's gone up. Every place else in the world has gone down. You know where that place is at? America. Because we're selling fear. Both sides, left, right, I don't care. Pick whichever you want. They're both selling fear. Fear of this guy, fear of this guy. Oh my God, we're fearful of each other. This country is suicidal. The rest of the world is not. Record numbers low. And there's the least amount of infant mortality ever in our history. Less babies are dying. And there's a whole bunch of other numbers that stack up. That's the ones off the top of my head, but it's a whole bunch of other categories where food is available for more people. It's like, oh, there's hope. No, there's more people in homes now than there ever was. So there's all these numbers that prove that what you're watching on the news is propaganda of fear. It's amplified. And over and over and over again. You can't do that. So I go around the world and I'm preaching, it's not so bad. Stop watching the news. Start loving yourself. Start forgiving yourself. And then you got to develop gratitude, because you're not grateful for everything that happens in your life. You stop manifesting the good things too. For example, you should be grateful. When I say everything, you should be grateful for cancer. If you get cancer, there's a gift there, not a lesson, because that sounds like a punishment. Oh, go to your room. That's the lesson for you. No, a gift. Everything comes as a spiritual gift, because everything comes to you to help awaken that spiritual journey within you, to help you find your path again. So you think back, things happen in your life. Well, it changed it. Pretty soon you start looking for spiritual answers. You start reading spiritual books. You start watching spiritual videos. You go to church. You talk to people. You're in a conversation with God in prayer. So when times get really tough, people go inward. They're looking. They're looking for something. So that's the message out there. And I'm not a business. I'm gonna, my next birthday coming up pretty soon. I'll be 80 years old. I'm not a business. I'm not looking to make money. I go around the world. People donate to me. Great. If I break even, I feel, yay, I broke even. My wife won't get mad at me. I spent all this money because I'll rent buildings, and last year, these people were doing me, oh, we're going to rent you the Quaker Meeting House in London. I thought, well, the Quakers is probably really cheap because, it's good. No. It was 890 pounds to rent it. And I thought, well, that's pretty bad. I'm giving away this free, right? That's a lot. A pound is more than $1. And I'm thinking, well, that's about $1,000. And it turned out that was by the hour. And I'm giving this 4-hour thing. Holy tally. Anyway, so somebody, a day or two later, somebody said, don't worry about it. Royal family picked it up. I said, okay, fine. So there's always people that are helping me out. So I just kind of let things happen. And so I gave a turned out to be 3.5-day workshop in Surrey, which is in England in the middle of this forest. It's really beautiful. At a healing center, Harry Edwards Healing Center. And when I have people 3.5 days with me, one-on-one all day long, the energy just builds and builds and builds. People are left so peaceful, so calm, so relaxed, so loving. I don't know how long it lasts, but it was, at least they had that moment where it was a beautiful thing. And hopefully people go from that point forward and start to explore. So that's kind of what I'm up to. I don't know if that's what you asked, Mr. Garcia, but there you go.
No, I love it. It's funny because I just wrote an article about the Gospel of Thomas, verse 108, and I touched on Yogananda in there. What's interesting about Yogananda, and there's so much to say about what you just said. Yogananda died in 1952. Gospel of Thomas was found in 1945. Wasn't translated yet. Yogananda, near his end, you probably know this story a lot better than me, but near the end of his death, he when he was going to transition, he said he talked about, because he interpreted the teachings of Jesus, and he prayed to Yeshua, Christ, and Jesus appeared to him saying, "We drink from the same cup." Of course, he's using the King James, the way he got the message wording, and what I loved about that is in the Gospel of Thomas, verse 8. Jesus is talking about, you drink from my mouth and you'll become my twin. And Yogananda was unaware of what these gospels, because they weren't translated yet. But what's interesting is Yogananda taught self-realization and saying Yeshua was teaching self-realization. And the Gospel of Thomas confirms what his mission, coming to bring back the original teachings of Christ. And the Gospel of Thomas was translated way after he was gone physically. And it was just a beautiful thing to see that all come. It confirmed what Yogananda was saying, and I thought that was profound, and I thought that was interesting. And when he appeared to Yogananda, he talks about basically saying he became his twin, 108. And I think it's beautiful. You also answered a question. I was here in Glendale in a community college taking a few classes, and I took a real religion class, and the professor couldn't answer, and he was a Christian, but you could tell he had a lot of dogma in him, which was kind of weird being a world religion professor. But he couldn't answer the question about why Shiva had that serpent around Shiva's neck, and I kind of raised my hand and told him, and he kind of got upset. But I hear a lot of unity consciousness in you, which means you tapped into that love, that mystic within yourself, and I really appreciate that. I also hear a lot of what Yeshua says, you too can do the things I do, even greater works than these, because I go to the Father, the source, right? Love. And I hear that in your message, and I really appreciate it. My question to you is, I know you didn't talk about this part, but you're a Vietnam veteran. Kind of reminds me of the Bhagavad Gita, with Arjuna. How was that for you, being because you weren't just in the outskirts, you were there in the, from what I understand, you were deeply seated, and I would love for you to share your experience. How was it with love in your heart, having a God consciousness, being in the middle of Vietnam?
Well, you're really opening up a box there. There's a lot involved in that. When I first was getting a draft notice and trying to join and all that stuff, I went down to Self-Realization Fellowship, and I talked to them. I said, what's the deal? Because I wanted to know their philosophy on it. And they told me Yogananda, when World War II was there, he told people, go do your duty, fight for your country. Go, that's your duty. Always follow your duty, just like in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Just like go follow, you do your duty. So I said, okay. So in good consciousness, I ended up in the military. I ended up in Vietnam. And you're right, I was in combat. I was shot down 5 times by helicopter, crashed. Was wounded, blown up by a rocket, shot by an AK-47 in the chest, knocked unconscious, scrambled through the jungle being chased by 500 North Vietnamese. I mean, name the stories. Their story, I was in it, so it wasn't make-believe. But what people don't understand, it's not so much what you do, but your intentions when you do it. So there's killing and degrees of that. Somebody's dying. But if you're in combat, this guy over here, he hates the enemy. And he's racist, and he's shooting them, and there's no mercy, and boom, he hates them. You got a guy next to him with a rifle. He's shooting this guy because the guy's shooting to kill him and his buddy next to him. He's got to protect his buddy. He's got to protect his own life. So he's shooting reluctantly, and he has to kill the guy if he has to kill the guy. But that's not his goal. It's not to destroy somebody. His goal is self-preservation. His goal is to protect the others. So somebody that's never been in combat, they don't quite understand that you're not there fighting for the flag. You're not fighting for the country. You're not fighting for glory. You're fighting for your buddies. And when I'm in a helicopter with a machine gun, I have to fire, because if I don't, we're going to get shot down, and there's other people going to get killed and stuff. While I have this philosophical discussion with myself: should I shoot or should I not? Is this right? You're there, and you're the person that's supposed to do it. Now, let me tell you a story where I didn't get any medals. In fact, I got threatened with a court-martial, threatened with life in jail or a firing squad.
Wow. For
disobeying direct orders. And it was the bravest act I ever did. And instead of getting a medal for it, they dropped the charges. Wow, whoop-de-doo. So we're flying over where the Ho Chi Minh trails come into Tay Ninh province, the Parrot Peak area. There's a part of Cambodia and Laos, and all these trails came in there. But the North Vietnamese soldiers were coming down them, uniformed troops, not the rebels, the Viet Cong. These guys were uniformed troops coming in. There was 500 of them. It's a pretty good size unit. And they were engaged fighting South Vietnamese soldiers. Anyway, 9 helicopters went in, 8 of them got shot up, and they left because they had battle damage. And we were the last one left in the sky. And we had the commanders for the guys on the ground. Just went down there, and it got pretty heavy. We got shot down. I crashed. I took on the 500 guys. Long story short, got rescued. I didn't get killed. But right afterwards, and here I am, this hero. They gave me big medals. Next week, I'm in a situation where I got a new pilot, and he tells me to shoot these, what look like troops marching down a road. And you think I'd have a little currency, Rev Bill knows what he's doing. No. So the guy says, shoot him. I got an M60 machine gun, fires 750 rounds a minute. 7.62 millimeter rounds, NATO rounds. Big bullets. 2 minutes. It looks like there's 30-something troops marching down the road in black pajamas, right? And there's somebody at the front of them dressed all in black, and they look like they got weapons on their shoulders. That's what it looks like from the air. And so the pilot's basing it on that, and it's right off the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and he's just wants me to shoot and kill. And so I'm looking at it, and remember the near-death experience where I saw myself behind a machine gun. I saw myself behind that machine gun before. And deja vu, I'm going, no, this is not what it appears to be. These are not enemy troops. I knew that. And so I refused to fire. And then the major got really mad. He threatened me with a court-martial. I'm giving you a direct order. This is combat. You direct order. Failure to follow, I'm going to have you're going to be in jail tonight. When we get back, you're going to be arrested. I said, do whatever you got to do. So he asked the gunner on the other side of the helicopters, one on each side, the door. And he goes, I've been flying with McDonald 6 months. If McDonald has a premonition or feels something's not right, he's right. I'm not going to do it. So when he failed to follow orders, That's now, it's called mutiny because there's 2 or more people disobeying a direct order. That's mutiny. That's a death sentence or life in Leavenworth.
Wow.
Nothing in between. And so he tells us that. And we both say, bring us on, charge us. Finally, I convinced the guy, I said, why don't you go down there? If it's the enemy, they're going to fire at us, right? And we'll get them, right? So we go down there, and it turns out marching down this road was a bunch of children led by a priest, Catholic priest in black robe, from the little hamlet. They're going to the vegetable garden for the community, and they got tools and rakes and shovels on their shoulders. Had I followed orders,
Wow.
I would have killed 30-something children and a Catholic priest, which got to be at least a cardinal sin to kill a Catholic priest. That's not good luck. But that would have changed the whole course of our history. I don't throw that out mildly. I mean, look what My Lai did, the massacre, right? That was headlines for. This would have been the same kind of thing, except it would have been all children.
Wow.
That would have been worldwide bad attention. It would have been terrible for the United States. It would have turned out to be children. Everybody was quiet. When I got back, no charges were filed. I didn't even get an apology. I could have said, I'm following orders. Was it good enough for the German Nazis? And we're the ones that told them it wasn't good enough. And so when I use that, they don't want to hear it. I've been to some military bases where I talk to military personnel, and if this story comes up, the brass or the high-ranking guys are very, very not happy. They don't want this story told because basically I'm saying you are responsible for that final decision, right or wrong. You're not a robot. You're not AI. So when you go to pull the trigger, and I'm saying that to guys who are like drone pilots, they don't want to hear me tell them that story, right? On the drone pilots, and you wonder, there's something you don't think about because I do PTSD, right? Guys, drone pilots are suffering. They go, oh, why? Those guys are not doing combat. They're sitting in some air-conditioned room in Florida or Europe someplace, right? And they're firing off at somebody in Afghanistan, all controlling on a little stick. But they get a little thing, the little AI comes up and goes, this is a 86% probability that's the guy. And it's, it's a go-ahead, right? And they make that decision, right? And they blow the building up and find out the guy's was having his children were in the building and they were having a birthday party downstairs and whatever else, right? Collateral damage. You are the ultimate last choice for humanity. And the more we go to AI and automated wars and drones and robots and computers making decisions, the worse it's going to get because there's no compassion left at all. There's no room for humanity. But this started a long time ago. Somebody pointed out to me, he says, yeah, think about this. But when we used to fight sword against sword, hand against hand, punching, fighting, it was warriors, right? Eyeball to eyeball, warriors, right? And then somebody invented a bow, an arrow. You could be 200 yards away. You're killing by distance. You don't even see him die. And then when a gun came, you changed it. And then when bombardiers came, just push a button and drop atomic bombs. Think about impersonal, how the wars become. And now with drones, it's very impersonal. A lot of them just turn it over to a computer program. No human involvement at all. So that's what I'm dealing with PTSD. That's what I was dealing with in Vietnam. And so I'm dealing with what I call moral wounds. Wounds for veterans that can't scab up and heal. When you make one of those decisions, it haunts you the rest of your life. I was one of those few people, and I understand why I did it. My gunner, whose last name was Garcia, by the way, my gunner, he was trusting me. My God, that's a guy that was brave. He should have got a medal, right? I mean, he's getting threatened. All he has to do is follow orders. I'm going. So, yeah, Vietnam I had things happen where bullets would go through me, hit somebody on the other side of me. Everything that should have happened. I knew all the helicopters that were going to get shot down. I would say day before, this guy's going to get killed. This guy get wounded. started spooking everybody out. I got investigated by the CIA came in, investigated me for 3 days. How could I know who was going to get killed and what aircraft were going to crash? And then they contacted me 50 years later. They still had my files. They were still trying to figure out how it worked. They were actually, I found out when I talked to Langley, Virginia, they called me. They were actually studying a group of people like myself in Vietnam and in the subsequent wars. They were trying to create a small units of what they were code name. I don't know what the official name was, but the unofficial name was Jedi warriors. Guys that would use their psychic abilities to, anticipate enemy movement and all. They did do Stargate, which was remote viewing at Stanford University. They were finding lost aircraft and where somebody's a prisoner and stuff. But I could never get recruited into that stuff because I didn't want to use my abilities for that. And certainly not as an offensive weapon. So that in a nutshell is it. And I'm skipping a lot of great stories. If you want me to get into some deeper ones, I can. But basically, Vietnam was probably the closest to God I ever got in my life. Every day was death at the doorstep, literally. Every day was an experience of seeing people come and go and the blessings of being protected. And so I went there after getting, SRF, Self-Realization Fellowship, said, go, and I went with the attitude was I was being looked after, right? My guru will take care of me. If I'm supposed to be killed, I'll be killed. If I'm not going to stop it if it's going to happen. So the attitude in combat has to be, that bullet has your name on it, it's going to find you. Because I stand in the middle of fields, I got explosions going off. In the movies we see the on the ground with the guns, rounds and whizzing by, you don't see it. And people dropping all around me. And I'd be just as calm as I am right now standing there. Figured out, okay, I go pick this guy up, put him on my shoulder, put him on my helicopter, go do this, do that. Totally calm. And was able to do that because I felt the presence of protection around me. And I don't think I was imagining anything because I was protected. A lot of neat stuff happened. It was like, so yeah, Vietnam, life, things happen, it unfolds. And so at this age of my life, I'm going, I want to take all those experiences and everything I learned and take people to a more emotionally peaceful place. And in this world right now with the Trump, anti-Trump, anti-this, everybody's anti-something. You can't just love somebody or something. You have to hate the other side to love this one. It's like, well, pick something because you like it. I don't care what it is. If you love it, great. But don't hate the other side. Both sides. I chastise them both. There's no right on this when both sides are wrong. The only people that are wrong are the anti-Raiders people, as you and I both know, fans. So, but they broke my heart when they left Oakland twice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I appreciate that. They taught me early on in my path getting sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, to speak the language from the heart in all its power and simplicity. And you definitely do a great job with that. So I really appreciate that. I want to ask you one more question about going back when you had that near-death experience when you were younger. Was that the life review you're talking about? And you seen that what we call future clip?
It was a future review forward. It was a 50-year review forward, not backwards.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to interview anybody else that's had a forward review. Most people, they're a certain age, they go back and they look at how they treated people and how that affected them, and they change. This was nothing to look back on. It's 8.5 years old. I'm looking forward.
Wow.
And everything I saw happened. But it was like I had those images in my mind. But then it was, you don't just hold on to that every day. But then when you get close to those moments, you start to get this heavy deja vu. You go, oh, yeah, I remember that. Like Kennedy assassination. A couple of weeks before, I go, whoa, this is where he goes to Dallas. He's going to Dallas. That's where he's going to get shot. He's going to get killed. He's going to get killed 2 weeks from now. And I tell the principal, I tell teachers, I tell people at school, yeah, Billy, yeah, sure, yeah. And then it happens and people get spooked. So it was like, I remembered the things before I needed to know them. But I didn't walk around with this burden of 50 years in my head when you're thinking about it every day. You don't retain that. But it's like it wakes itself up when you need it. But it was just 50 years, which is interesting because I got a book out there. My latest book is called I Remember Tomorrow, which, and at my age, I can't remember where I put my eyeglasses or car keys or why I walked into the room or why I opened the refrigerator. Why am I here? But I know what's going to happen tomorrow. I can remember that. And it's not a parlor trick. It's not magic. It's not even a miracle. Realize this, all time is eternal now. Everything's happening now. So you go to an FM radio, people still play those, right? Young kids won't know what I'm talking about. They don't go to FM radios anymore. But, and you go to 90.6, then you roll it forward to 102 points, and you got a different show as you roll through the dial, right? Time is like that. You and I right now are focused on 2025 in this dream reality, which is not real, but to us, it's real. We're here. We're focused on it. But simultaneously, Mr. Garcia is this great Buddha already happening in the eternal now. You've already enlightened, but you're living this all at the same time simultaneously. So nobody fails. Everybody eventually awakens. Everybody eventually realizes their oneness with the source. Nobody's going to beat you there before you because we're all one. How can anybody beat you there? And it's all now. So there's no time. Nobody gets ahead of you. So we're having this dream together. We're all enjoying these dreams. Or some people they're nightmares. Let's get real. Some people are not enjoying these dreams. And the more you focus on this as reality, the harder it becomes. So the idea is wake up from the dream. And you do that through meditation. You do that through whatever the processes you come up with. But eventually it's just a matter of remembering you are the source. It is you. It's one. And as long as you keep thinking you're separate, to go back to that analogy of the ocean, you're a drop of, you are not a drop of the ocean. You are the ocean, no matter where the drop is at. And if it's evaporated into a cloud, it'll eventually end up in the ocean again through rain, right? So that's the source. So no matter where we go, and in your case, if it's alcoholism, or in my case, it's diseases and battles, it doesn't matter what happens to you. All that's a gift because it brings you to where you're at now. It kickstarts you on your journey. And some people have to fall down a couple, 2, 3 times and go, okay, all right, I finally got it. But nobody's ever lost. That's why I always have this argument. You think you got free will? How can you have free will if you can't fail? You can't fail. No matter how bad you get, eventually you get so bad, so terrible, you go, I give up, let's change. Even Hitler is going to be enlightened and is enlightened in the future. Oh my God, what sacrilege. You just said Hitler's going to be enlightened. Yeah, because there's no hell. God didn't send Hitler and all these bad guys out to hell to burn up. There's a loving presence there because it's all one. Why would he destroy part of himself? It's all this one dream. Everybody becomes enlightened. Everybody wakes up. Everybody is touched and birthed by the process of love. And when they discover the love within, they fully awaken. End of story. That's it.
I love that. Thank you. Were you aware of Thich Nhat Hanh during that time in Vietnam?
Aware of what?
Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen Buddhist monk. Are you familiar with Thich Nhat Hanh?
Well, we're talking 1966, 1967. No, not much. I don't think he was writing the books then.
Yeah, you're right.
And I was out slodging through the paddies and through the skies of Vietnam. So yeah, there was no philosophical thing going on, but I I was meditating. I was having spiritual experiences in Vietnam. And when I came back and was so terribly accused of being a baby killer, when I put my own life online, death sentence, remember, death sentence or life in prison for refusing to shoot children, and then to be called a baby killer when I come back to San Francisco in 1967, I'm going, you guys don't even know. You don't even know. You know, being a Vietnam veteran was a unique experience in American history. Soldiers, we came back despised. Nobody wanted to do anything with us. Our families didn't even understand us. Our families didn't even agree with us being over there. I mean, you come back and there's anti-war people in your own family, and you go, geez, man, you could be anti-war, but don't be anti-veteran. See, that's the difference. People took it out on soldiers, and that was wrong. Soldiers didn't make any of those policies. If you gave a vote to the soldiers, they would have said, hey, let's go home. Let's get the hell out of here. We got to get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do. That was a big song we listened to in the barracks, right? So we wanted to leave. And then what was sad about that when you watched the end of the war, how it ended, and everybody's scrambling to get out of Vietnam. And then I turned on the TV set 50 years later or more, and I see us leaving Afghanistan the same exact way. Chasing the airplane down the runway. And I'm going, we haven't learned anything from history. Can't win those guerrilla wars. You can't give democracy to people that are still got warlords. You know, in Afghanistan, they're still selling opium. They're still living this whole different, they're living 2 centuries ago. And you're trying to spend 20 years trying to educate them. And 3 days after you're gone, in fact, 3 hours after, in fact, as you're leaving, they're taking it over. There was no even gap in time. So that was 20 years of wasted suffering for humans. And for the poor women and people of Afghanistan who got used to living this free life, the women who could become doctors and teachers and lawyers and did not have to wear this stuff. And then we're gone, and all of a sudden they're home. They can't go out of the house. They can't work. What a slap to them, because they got a taste of it. It's like they knew that there was something better for them. That was terrible. And then we didn't even take refugees from there. We cut off the refugees. And we're sending people back to Afghanistan, believe it or not. So is Europe. So, yeah, war is not healthy for anybody, but the deal is this. If you want to spend your whole life, every lifetime coming back and fighting politics and wars, it's endless. I tell people, change you. Change you. That changes the world that you see and perceive. It also changes others. And if each of us change us, we've won. We've changed the world. Simple as that.
I want to end this in a full circle. In the beginning, you talked about talking to a group of people, and they raise their hand if they believed in God or they believe in love. And it's funny because I pick a quote before we even get our discussion, and it's on love. So it's amazing that you started it that way. You know, in the Bible, it says, he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. In the Gita, it says, I look upon all creatures equally. None are more dear, none are less dear, but those who worship me in love come to life in me, and I come to life in them. And I love that. And I think that's what you're all about, is love. And what was the people's response when you said that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I had them all. They were all listening. They go, oh, so love? Yeah, they can handle love. And so then I got deeper into it with, we're one, nobody's separated. You got to realize Czech Republic went through all these years of wars. They broke Czechoslovakia up, and then there was all these religious groups fighting each other, Muslims against all the other religions that are there. It got crazy. So the people of the Czech Republic, they kind of, religion is not a thing anymore so much at all. But they're spiritual in nature. They just didn't realize it. There's people that are hungry for purpose and motivation to live a good life. And they found it. They don't want a label. They don't have to have a cross on a church or or Star David. They don't have to have any religion. God has no religion. God is love. And if you teach that, so people come into my events, I tell them, I don't care what religion you are. I tell them, are you happy with what you got? Yeah. End of story. We're not talking dogma here. Whatever religion you are, because most people have a religion because based on social, family, holidays, celebrations, traditions. That's what God don't care. Do your religion. It's all right. It doesn't matter. In the end, it only matters who did you love, not who loved you, because you can buy people off and, if you're famous. And no, did you love your enemies? Did you love those who didn't love you back? It's easy to love those who love you back. So that's the whole essence of my teachings now. And people, I was accused a couple of years ago. Somebody thought they would insult me. It was on a podcast or something. The guy says, oh, you're just kind of like an adult. You're a Mr. Rogers for adults. Like it was an insult, right? And I go, well, thank you. I didn't know what to say then. I go, thank you. Yeah. Oh, you thought he was insulting me, right? Mr. Rogers, I love the guy, right? So I'm the Mr. Rogers for adults. I don't care because Mr. Rogers talked about love, respecting other people's property and their beliefs and all these things. That old book, you're old enough. I think it came out about 35, 40 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. It's called Everything I Needed to Know in Life I Learned in Kindergarten. How to play well with others, getting your daily nap, nurturing yourself with milk and graham crackers. When you're finger painting, don't get other kids, leave them alone. Don't pull ponytails. I mean, everything you really need to learn, you learn in kindergarten. The basics, it's love. So, yeah. So that's what this old guy is out there teaching people my age. I'm thinking, you know what? I don't care. I'm not embarrassed. It's really just about love. And when you love somebody, you don't have to explain anything. They know. You don't have to teach a baby to love. You don't have to teach a baby to laugh. That's weird. In all the cultures, babies laugh the same language. And love is the same in all cultures. Real love. It's innate in the spiritual DNA. We are love. We were created by love in the image of God. Made in the image of God. Well, if I think God's love, I made that image. I'm made of love. End of story. You can have all the arguments about what is God, who created God. I'm going, does it make you a better person to have this illusion of having the correct answers? Because all the answers you're looking for, all these unanswerable questions, you're asking from a human mind. They can't be answered and from that same source. You got to be out of your friggin' mind, no mind state to answer any of those questions. So anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
I love that. And Mr. Rogers, he weighed himself every day and he made sure he weighed 143 pounds. That's the,
I didn't know that.
I love you. Yeah. Remember the old texting days where you had to put 143, I love you code. Yeah. Mr. Rogers actually made sure he weighed himself every day to be that same weight.
Well, I just remember he had kid in a wheelchair on there, and then he had the mailman on there, and he was talking to regular people. He talked about divorce and death and all these things that are taboo to talk to children about, but somebody has to talk to them. And if you do it with love and tenderness, and he never took himself serious. It's like, honestly, I have ego. I'm not humble. You talk to me long enough. No, there's not a humble body. There's not a humble cell in that body anywhere. I would like to be humble, but it's eluded me. But meanwhile, I hope that love kind of balances out a little bit. So it's not always about us. I mean, in a small sense, a small us, meaning me. It's about us, the greater us, the bigger us, meaning everyone. So there's a difference between the I and the us. And so the message I don't care if it's in Germany or Switzerland or England or in Vietnam or wherever I go, is being received more than I ever anticipated. They're not fighting me on it. It's like, so I was lucky this last month I've been gone. I didn't run into I didn't run into any critics. Because wherever I go, there's no dogma. No trying to convert you to any religion. If you want no religion, okay. If you want a religion, whatever you choose, I don't care. I think last year I went to Salt Lake City, Utah, and I said, oh, I don't know how the Mormons are going to take what I'm teaching, but I taught them the same thing. They loved it. Had huge crowds filled the place, and they thought I was a Mormon. I go someplace, they think whatever they are, they think I am, because it's the basics. Love yourself, forgive yourself, gratitude. And then when I was in Salt Lake City, I threw an end service. Oh, that was it, end service, right? Because that's part of the culture, serving and giving and loving. I always put that in love, but I made it separate. Yeah, in love and serving. They go, I had them. So beautiful people. I love going there. But it's the same experience when I go to India, when I speak into a Hindu group, or I speak to a Buddhist group, or I speak to Unitarian churches all over the place. And whatever church I go, I was speaking at a Unitarian church of some kind in Pasadena, right next to the border of Altadena where they had the fires. And I was there a few months before the fire. And it was the 100th anniversary of this organization. They said, we want you to come and be our keynote speaker, give a sermon. And followed the line of other speakers. I said, what other speakers have you had there? Oh, when we opened up, we had Paramahansa Yogananda.
Wow.
Way back, I go, oh, that's good company. I'm coming. I'll be there. So I got to speak for the same place. That was kind of like an honor. I go, on the 100th anniversary, I was speaking there. Yogananda was kicking it off, and I'm speaking 100 years later. I go, yeah, it's pretty cool bookends. So you can't anticipate those things. That's just serendipity. That just happens.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on. I'd love to have you back. I want to buy a couple of your books and we talk about your books and extend this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Latest book I was talking about. I Remember Tomorrow. There we go.
Awesome.
Anyway, I got about a dozen books out there. They go on Amazon. They look for William, quote unquote, Rev Bill McDonald Jr., and there it is. I got video channel, YouTube video channel, real original title, Rev period Bill McDonald, and they'll find my channel. They go to Facebook, and it's another great one, Rev Bill McDonald. Boom, and you got my Facebook page. You go to my website, it's Rev Bill McDonald. I have a time with memory, so all my codes, if you figure out one code, you get everything. So everything is simple. So.
No, I appreciate it. And I'll definitely upload those links when I upload this video. It's funny. I always end it with a quote, and I immediately thought about Yogananda. I'm going to find a Yogananda quote to end this episode. And then I had a feeling that told me Emmett Fox. And then Emmett Fox, I haven't looked into Emmett Fox in a long time, actually. And then when I scrolled down to Emmett Fox and looking for some of his stuff, I found the perfect reading. Oh, that's why I was told Emmett Fox. And here it is. All the old traditions tell us that there is more than one path to the great goal with the capital G. The shortest and easiest pathway is the pathway of love. And it is the one path that is open to all, irrespective of what their personal conditions and circumstances may be. For every person everywhere, true attainment awaits through the yoga of love. For yoga means union, and it is in our union with God that makes that attainment possible. Emmett Fox. Thanks for coming on.
All great minds work the same. Beginning of my book, below the I Remember Tomorrow, it says, God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. 1 John 4:16. It's all about love. There you go.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on.
God bless you, sir.
God bless. Take care. Talk to you soon. Namastizzle.
Namaste.
Just know we out here. Know we out here working in a major way. Had to speak on it just to make a play. Any given subject, know we make a way. Time to level up on a day-to-day. Know we out here working for the greater good. Expand your mind, broaden your lens the way you should. From the stars to the galaxy to speak on spirituality. Higher understanding for the neighborhood.